sit. That was a little bit of my finger too. This is Cooper, and this is Cooper's roadmap to success. Cooper, and this is dog crack. It's actually freeze-dried beef liver, but you see, he really likes it. So we started off this, he's one of our puppy class graduates, and so we were able to kind of skip a lot of the things we cover in our session, but I'm going to cover those really quickly just so we have, so you have them on here. The first thing I talked about was exercise, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the things we covered, kind of skimmed over were the petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is if he comes up and jumps up on me, nudges me, or barks for attention. If I chastise him for barking, if I shove him off of me, or I pet him, all these things are rewarding for him. Is he in the shot still? And he's a goofball. And so that actually conditions the dog to do those things. Most of us train our dogs to misbehave because it barks and we correct it. It jumps up on it, we correct it. It chews on us, we correct it. But as soon as it comes to us and sits down, we ignore that. It lays down, we ignore that. So petting with a purpose is a great way to motivate your dog to do those things and for you to reward them for them. So if he comes up and tells me and jumps up on me or barks at me, I'm going to give him a counter order, tell him to sit. When he sits, I'd like to pet him under his chin, because when a dog feels good about itself, his nose is parallel to the ground, or they lick your ear. So petting him under the chin facilitates that nose-up orientation, which we really like. Thank you, buddy. Then I'm going to say sit, and only the word sit. Not good sit, just sit. Then I can pet him once to an infinity number of times. He just has to do something first to change his state in order to earn that affection. And even if I want to pet him, I'm going to still tell him to sit. So I'm rewarding him for doing something I want. That helps increase his respect for me as a leader. It boosts his self-esteem and confidence because he's earning that pet instead of just getting it. And then it also helps him practice it. That's what we do when you put your teeth on me. I should have been doing that before. Yes, because you're Mr. Wigglebutt right now. And this is a good illustration of why he needs more exercise. We're going to talk about real quick. First, I'm going to talk about passive training. Kisses. That could be an example of passive training. I wouldn't do it because he's spazzing out so much. But down. Flop is what I call it when he goes on his side. Passive training is just waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior that you want and saying the command word within 3 seconds of them doing it. So every time he comes to you, which is one of the problems that he has, make sure that whoever he comes to, as long as he's not jumping up, will before he gets a chance to jump up on you. Well, I'm not going to pet for that. It's demand barking. But I would pet him and say the word come. Every time he sits, pet him and say the word sit. Every time he lays down, pet him and say the word lay. Every time he barks, speak. 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 So this is not the ideal time to do it. You could do it here because he's energetic and he's protesting, so it can be a little confusing for him. But I went over with the Guardians a way to teach him to be quiet, or the quiet command. In order to do that, you have to first teach your dog to speak on command. Anyways, for passive training, it's just recognizing him every time he does something you want. He goes to the dog bed, we call that beach. Every time he goes there, just say the word beach. Every time he takes his first drink of water, say water or agua, that was him, or cocktail, or whatever your name of your favorite drink is. Every time he takes his first bite of food, say pizza, or whatever the word is that you want to use. So we're putting in context the things that we want, and we're rewarding him for doing them. And the more we do that, the more the dog's going to want to do those. You could also do that for passive training for leaving the room, but I showed the Guardian a leave the room exercise. Make sure everybody in the house practices that once a day with about 10 treats, 5 treats, and tear them in half. Well, actually, no, that's different for the leave it extra, or I'm thinking about something else. So for the out command, we're just basically going to have a whole bunch of treats, tear them in half, go to each doorway and throw the treat out, and when he runs out and licks it up, say the word out. And then go to repeat the whole process after you've done every doorway in the house, and this time throw it into the room and say kitchen, media for the media room, bedroom, den, office, whatever it is. Name each room in your house. One of the other things I talked to the Guardians about was creating a list of the official command words. Most of us use various versions of the word. Come here, come here, over here, here boy. It just makes it hard if the dog has to listen for all these different variants of the word. So it's easier for us just to come up with a list of command words, and if somebody's saying the wrong one, I say vocabulary, the person says, thank you, come, or whatever the correct word is. Let me see, what else did we go over? We went over, well, let's get back to the rules, because that's, I think, one of the most important things for him. So for the rules, come. That's not ideal because you're jumping up, but it's passive training. So for the rules, not being allowed to be on the furniture would be one. I would recommend the guardians get the X mats before you start doing that. At the same time we did that, we taught him how to use the dog bed. And so remember, these rules should be in place for 66 days minimum, or as long as the problem's still going on. So not allowed in the furniture, the X mats will help keep him off, and that way he sees a literal distinction. The humans are up there, I'm down here. Also, it protects us. He can't jump up and do the things he was doing when he was spazzing out before. Remember to use the dog bed and throw those treats on it to lure him to go there, and then reward him when he does go there, throwing them after the fact. And you're probably closer to the after the fact part by the time you're watching this video. So just every time he goes there, say the word beach, or give him a treat, or both. But at least just say the word. And again, I would recommend having a dog bed in every room that you hang out in, so he has a designated place to go. Let me see. What else do we go over? For exercise, starting an exercise journal. Right now, he's getting a couple walks a week. He's a high-energy beagle, and he's a puppy. He probably needs a good hour and a half worth of exercise a day. But walking is not a very efficient way of exercising. It's great. I'd like you to continue doing that, because also impulse control. Remember to do the exercise walking towards where the leash is, and then every time that he moves in front of you, you stop. And I have a video for that. So if, calm leashing, go to doggoneproblems.com, click on dog training tips. On the right side, there's a box. Just type in calm leashing. I can't remember. I think the dog's name is Charlie. It's a little Jack Russell Terrier. And I go through the whole process of keeping a dog calm before the walk. Throwing the treats up and down the stairs is a great way to do it. Playing fetch, now that we've taught him to drop, should be a great way to do it. Scent games, Google scent games, and leave treats, and he's got to find them. Chasing the laser can be a good one as well. Fast dog. And so keep the exercise journal for about a month. Write down the time, the exercise, the number of up downs on the stairs, how long the walk was, how long he chased the laser. So you want to put some data in there. And also, every time he has a barking incident, he freaks out, he does anything we don't want, mark the time and a sentence or two about what he did. After a while, you can start using that data to start kind of figuring out, okay, every time we have an exercise in between this amount of time, that's when he starts getting misbehaving. So exercise him a bunch of short pursuit games, like the stairs or whatever it is, throughout the day. And at the end of the day, give him a letter grade, A through F. And if you got anything but an A, then play around the next day. Give him instead of doing 30 up downs on the stairs, maybe go to 35. He's probably closer to 100 on the stairs. But you want to find out, remember to max him out the first time you do it with all the exercises. We're going to fetch until you stop fetching. We're going to do this next day. We're going to do the stairs until you stop fetching. Make sure you do that with an empty stomach. And otherwise it can tear if he's got a lot of food in there. So once you kind of figure out how much exercise he needs throughout the day, then you can kind of sprinkle it in amongst your calendar. Spending 5 minutes on the stairs is equivalent to like a 20 to 30 minute walk. And you can do it in the house, you can do it while you're on the phone, your jammies or whatever it is. And so it's convenient for us. And so I would try to maybe, it's one person in the house's dog, but everybody kind of helps out. Maybe you do the bulk of it, but maybe dad does one little thing and mom does one little thing as well. And the stairs or the fetch or whatever, these aren't that hard to do. But finding the right combination of exercise is going to be probably for him more than just about any other dog I've worked with, going to be a really important part of it. And once you know what that is, you can factor it in your schedule. We also talked about rules. Enforcing rules is a great way for the dog to see us acting like a leader. So one of the rules I suggest, like I said, no furniture. And then after that, furniture with an invitation from a human and only for good behavior. So if I invite you up, you start barking, you have to now get down. And you lose that privilege. Or if I invite you up and then you go get down to get a drink of water, you come back, you need another invitation. Another rule that I would have is he has to sit before we let him in or out of the door. I go to the door and say, sit once. If he doesn't sit, I walk away from the door and I sit down somewhere in the door area, but be seated and wait for 1 minute. Only say it once. And if he doesn't do it, then he doesn't get the result of what he's looking for. Playing hard to get and not rewarding your dog until it does something for you is a wonderful way to help establish a healthy leader-follower dynamic and help the dog respect you more. So after 1 minute, I go back to the door and I command him again, sit. If he doesn't sit this time, I walk away for 2 minutes. Next time for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. And as soon as he sits down, I fly that door open as fast as I possibly can. So after a while, he'll go sit at the door as his way of saying, I'd like to please go outside. And then I do it with both directions of the door. I would also incorporate a sit on walks before we put him in the car, before you go into Starbucks, whatever it is. Walking before you cross the street. I make my dog sit before I cross the street. And I say sit now. The door inside, we'd say sit, we walk away. On the walks, you don't want to do that. So you want to really get it established in the house first. Oh, you're going to grab your own leash. We didn't take him out earlier, so he brought his own leash.
Yeah.
Just a rope?
Yeah.
All right. So now he wants to play a little tug of war. This should be added to your exercise journal, and this should be interpreted as his way of saying, I need some exercise. Drop. Thank you. Yeah, he was like, I'll do anything for crack. All right, let me see, what else? Other rules. Shouldn't be allowed to be within 7 feet of whoever's eating. So like here, if anybody was eating a snack, I would say he's not allowed to be in the L between the table and the couch or on the carpet here, the little area rug. You can be anywhere else in the room he wants. You just can't be here when you're eating. Same thing with the kitchen. Can't be in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Remember to set up practice sessions ahead of time. Pull out your, microwave some bacon or roast beef or whatever it is, and then pretend like you're eating the roast beef and you're helping and forcing him off of the boundary, using those escalating consequences. Once he sits or lies down outside the boundary, then you put the heated up meat away and you eat your actual sandwich or whatever your lunch is. Same thing for the kitchen. Practice cooking and microwave some bacon, and then make him leave the room first, then practice make some bacon and practice cooking or pretend cook. As soon as he tries to come in, you use that third consequence. You're first and third, you're really hissing and rushing at him. And then walk backwards. Remember when you're doing that, if you're walking away from him, if you turn away, your authority goes whatever direction your belly button is pointing. So if you want him to say, I'm mean business, Megan's actually he was almost gonna hump you. So stand up and snap to turn and face him. And that suddenness, there you go. And then march right at him, march right at him, march right at him. March, keep going. Keep going. Don't stop until he gets off. He's grabbed your leg and he's humping your leg. He's trying to control things. So when he does that, you really have to have a very sudden energy to it. Kind of like, unfortunately in our society, women get touched inappropriately by men, even when it's not sexual. There's a difference between if I'm a woman and a guy grabs my butt and I say, stop. That's different. No! So I want that sort of energy, like you're offended. So next time he does that, march, like I'm gonna almost run at him. So that'll disengage him off of you, but you have to have that. And you have to really present like, I am offended by that. He's not doing it so much to offend you, but that's the energy that'll help him understand. And again, this should be added to the exercise journal, and this should be interpreted as, I need some exercise. So take him upstairs and throw the treats up and down the stairs. All right, we went over a little clicker training. Remember, for the next couple of days, really just by the time you watch this, you probably will have already done this. So just make sure, I'm going to talk to you directly, just make sure twice more today and 3 times a day, you have 10 treats, throw them on the ground. Every time he licks it up, click it. After that, you won't have to do any more priming the clicker. He's already probably there. You probably don't have to do it once more today and twice tomorrow, and you should be good. Remember, the click is to indicate you just did what I want. I'm going to get the treat into your mouth as soon as possible. Another exercise we did was just a kind of a version of a focus exercise. We threw a treat, and the dog went and licked it up, and then we were holding a treat in our hand and the clicker in our hand. As soon as he looked at the person's face, we clicked, and then we gave him a treat. Now, he was looking at people's hands. If he does that, turn, rush at him. Rush. There you go. What we were doing in the house was throwing the treat. The dog went and got it, and we waited for him to look, and we clicked, and they gave him the treat. We didn't assign a command word. Eventually, I'd like you to be able to do this. Go out to your yard with him on a leash. Let him sniff the yard and get his sniffs out first. And you're not throwing the treat at this point. You're just waiting. And you have the clicker. Keep the leash that's around your hand and the clicker in that hand, so your other hand can be free to give him treats. So you're not throwing the treat. You just go out in the middle of your yard and stand there and let him kind of go wherever he wants within the 6-foot radius of the leash. Just turn, keep your facing him the whole time, but don't move to the side so he can't go outside that 6-foot zone. And just waiting. Don't lure him. Don't move, don't do anything. As soon as he looks you in the face, click, give him a treat. After you've done this, and if he's really having difficulty outside, come inside and practice it inside by throwing it a couple times. Or you can just do it inside, just walk around every time he looks at you, click, and give him a treat. But then go back outside and do that. It's what we call warming up. That can really help a lot of dogs figure out how to do that. Let me see, what else did we go over? The video at the very top of this is about keeping him calm behind the baby gate. But I want you to kind of think about when you're watching that exercise, you can do that for other things, like for feeding him, for playing fetch, for putting his food down or whatever it is. So what I do is I create like a formula or an equation. The end result is what the dog wants, but in order to achieve that result, the dog has to do something for me that I'm going to make clear once. And then the dog has to do it before I give the dog whatever its reward is. So if you know what your dog likes to do, this is a great way to add a little bit of structure. And the dog has to say please or thank you every time you want to do these things, and the dog learns to be polite. And after a while, just come and sit and drop the ball in front of you as a way of saying, "Hey, buddy, you want to go play some fetch?" It's a great way to have your dog interact with you. Remember to use those 4 escalating consequences to disagree: hiss, march, leash, and then let me try that again. Hiss, march, hiss, stand, march, leash. Thank you. Yeah. Even I get a little rusty sometimes. And do those right away. I think in this house, a lot of people are petting him when he jumps up, so make sure we're not doing that. And like I said, once we get the X mats, I think that'll take care of a lot of that problem. I would use maybe the dog bed that's in here, maybe keep that one in the kitchen because he doesn't need the coolness factor. And maybe get the cooling mat and put it in here in front of the table, in front of the TV. I like to put it in front of the TV because I was like, man, look at you all. You're all just looking at me. We're really just watching the TV above the dog's head. And so it's also kind of out of the way in this room. And remember to throw the treat to entice him to go there. Leave a treat there every once in a while, and then also you can put him into a sit or lay down, and then give him the treat. But then if he goes there on his own, just say the word beach, or just go toss a treat, or go pet him. At very minimum, would just say the word beach. He's humping a lot, so he's about to get a special visit from the vet, which will help with this as well. But again, if he does this for you guys,
every once in a while, not excessively.
Okay. So when he does this, if you can take 5 minutes on the stairs, he's gonna be too tired to do this sort of activity. And so it's not a sexual thing. He's trying to say, I'm the boss. And we just got done spending 3 hours explaining to him that he is not the boss. So he's trying to overcompensate a little bit for it. So that's okay. It'll happen. And remember, after getting him neutered, it takes up to 3 weeks to get all those hormones out of his system. He can still impregnate a dog 3 weeks after he's been adjusted. And so make sure he's not around other dogs for that. I'm trying to think, is there anything else we went over that you want me to go over?
No, you did the 4.
Yep.
No, the leash pulling, I know there's a video on that.
Yeah, okay, so the last thing is the leash pulling. There's a video, so check the puppy class videos that we sent to you. Again, since that's kind of a priority, what I would recommend is you guys really focus on this for about a month. And then when we get into like this, right after the 4th of July, call our Becca, our booking coordinator. We call her ABC because she's awesome, Becca Crowley. And call her and just set up and just say you want to have Megan come by and start working on loose leash walking. She can come by like once a week and show you guys the steps. You guys practice the step. After a week or two, whenever you're ready, you have Megan come back and she shows you the next step. It's not hard, but it takes a lot of practice. And typically, you really need to gain some momentum by doing it every day, a couple of times a day. Kind of like the leash exercise, practicing leashing the dog up when we're not going for a walk helps the dog be less excited for the walk. When we teach dogs to walk with the loose leash, we do it without a walk and without the leash. And so we kind of do it we teach the dog the individual steps so that way the dog knows what to do. And it's pretty cool when you can, it's cool as well, but it's pretty awesome when you can actually tuck the leash in your back pocket and walk down the street, reading your phone and drinking your cappuccino. All right, Cooper. Oh, the come exercise. Yeah. Remember to practice that. And that's also a video that I have on my website. You have to come up here to get this one, buddy. Come on. Shark. Beagle shark. Come. So practice that come exercise. Have everybody about 7 feet apart and give each person about 5 to 7 treats. Remember to hold your hand up. Make sure you have that your arm parallel to the ground. A couple of people are holding their hand out like this. Just keep it here. Remember, you go down when he looks at you to entice him. So you're going to say his name or come. And then when he looks at us, start going all the way to the floor if you have to. When he comes to you, raise it over his head to put him in a sit. Lower it, let him lick it off your hand, and then say come, and tickle him under his chin. And then gradually start making the triangle big enough to the point where you're all standing on the edge of the room. Then have one person on the stairs outside the line of sight and practice some more. Then have one person in the kitchen or in the dining room. Then eventually the kitchen. And eventually the dog has to go and find people where he can't see them anymore. And then for the yard, you can do this for your deck. Just when he's on the deck, sunbathing, having a good time, have a high value treat, walk out there in the middle of the deck. Don't say a word. When he comes to you, give him a treat and say come, and walk back inside the house. If you took 10 steps in the middle of the deck, next time only take 9 steps and just stand there and wait. Don't give him any enticement. As soon as he comes to you, give him the treat and say come. And then 7, 6, 5, 4. Eventually you come to the door and you just open the door and he runs. You can throw a treat inside. He'll run and get it. Say casa or house or whatever the word it means go inside, and then let him go back through the door outside. Remember, a lot of dogs don't listen to us because every time we hear a command like come, it represents the end of fun. I'm yelling at the lawnmower guy, you open the door, call me, I come inside, and then I can't yell at the lawnmower guy anymore. So the more that we passively train the dog by rewarding him every time he comes and practice these exercises, the more he's more enticing to want to do that. Beach. All right, well, I was about to sign off before I did that. So, Cooper, come. That's a good example of that. You have to come up here to get this one, though. There we go. Sit. This is Cooper the Wonder Dog, and this is Cooper's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Right, Coop?